Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you already didn't know, my name is Phil and Harry Scarfe once again has asked me to do a video, this time in a different format of who I think is going to finish where for the upcoming season and any transfers that justify the positions that I put those teams into. So I think easiest place to start off, we'll go top to bottom. So first to 20th I will go, and I think everyone will go most likely, Liverpool. I think that's easy enough to say. I mean, their signings are ridiculous. They won the league last year. I mean, Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Kirkes, Marmadashvili, I believe. Also looking at Alexander Isak as well, and I may have even missed out a few signings in there. So their squad looks very strong, and I would say for them winning the league last season and the signings that they made, I can't see any other winner. I think they are nailed on in my opinion. So I've put Liverpool first. Second, I've put City. Decent window, even though they did their business quite early on. I remember at the start of the window, a lot of the signings were coming in thick and fast. Obviously signing Ait Nouri, Ryan Cherky, Tijani Reinders. Now they've gone and got James Trafford. May have missed a few transfers in there again, but they're the big ones that I can really name off. I particularly think that Tijani Reinders could be one of the best midfielders in the league next season. I mean, watching him play at AC Milan, he's just got such a motor on him. He doesn't stop. And I was really jealous of City when they got him, because if I had it my way, I'd have him at Spurs all day long. But unfortunately, you can't have everything that you want. City, I've got second, as I said. Third, Arsenal, gone and signed Madueke, Victor Gyökeres, Norgard from Brentford, Zubimendi, and now they've gone and got Mosquera, I believe, centre-back, I think they have anyway. As much as I hate to say it, I think Arsenal will finish third. Good window. Out of all of those, I think Madueke is a good signing. A lot of Arsenal fans were kind of saying, not too fussed about him, but I think for the player that you get in, yeah, albeit it's 50 mil that you paid for him, it's good signing. Not entirely sure how to feel about Victor Gyökeres. I mean, haven't seen enough of him on the pitch to really say, yeah, he's going to do bits in the Prem, but 90% of the time that he spent in Portugal, he was playing against Portuguese farmers. So it's not the most difficult league, especially when you've only got Porto, Sporting Lisbon and Benfica in the league that are challenging for it every single year. So Arsenal third, Chelsea fourth, I mean, Leon Delap, João Pedro, Jamie Bino Gittins, Hato, and even Xavi Simons is on the radar now. They're just building a strong squad. Obviously world champions as we speak, Club World Cup winners. Can't really take much away from them. And one thing I will say with the top four, it's not a top four race in my eyes, it's more of a four-way title fight. Not sure if many people would agree with that, but that's the way that I see it. I think there's such quality and such depth in squad now that these four teams can afford to be playing maybe not the first team players every week in order to give their first team a little bit of a rest, and they can afford to do that now. I think Arsenal, out of the four, probably have the biggest problem on the left, as I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans say that they have an issue with the left, especially with Martinelli, and that they've said if they can go in and get Eze or Rodrigo, that will fix it. But at this moment in time, I've heard nothing from the Arsenal camp in order to justify that even happening. So that's my top four: Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea. Fifth, I've got Villa. Bit of an outlier that one, but I would have put Newcastle, given the season that they had last season. But with where they are now, they lose Isak to Liverpool, which is looking likely now. I think they won't finish near fifth, and I'll get onto that when we get to Newcastle. But I've got Villa fifth. Not that many signings that they've made. It's just a case of, can they hold on to Ollie Watkins, which I believe they will now, considering that United are looking at Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig again. So Villa fifth. Bit of an outlier in that one, considering I think they finished fifth, sixth, around that region last season, but they do look good. I think they are a dark horse in terms of the Prem. So Villa fifth, good squad, good manager, good fans as well. Difficult place to go to. So Villa 5th is where I'm putting them. United 6th. Only 2 transfers that I can realistically talk about, big ones for them, is Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo. Haven't watched United as of yet, but I know that they've been doing well in terms of their results in the Premier League Summer Series. I don't know how those two are performing. I think it will be when I start watching, well, when the Prem comes back on, that's when we'll know. But I know that Bruno Fernandes, Cunha and Mbeumo will probably have some decent link up, and it's a case of if they can go in and get a decent striker, and in this case it does look like, as I said previously, they will go and get Benjamin Sesko. Moving on to 7th, and that is where we have Tottenham Hotspur. I would have had them higher if by the point of making this video, we had already signed a 10 and we had already got another winger in the door. Obviously, after that North London derby, which was a brilliant win, even though it's pre-season, you still take them. North London derby. Madders is now out injured. We lost out on Gibbs White, and Kulusevski is still in recovery, and we don't know when he is going to be ready. So we are now without a 10. Big issue, and there's been no movement on it. There's been movement on a winger, but that's for a separate video. So for the squad that we've got now and the way that Thomas Frank has us playing, I've got a 7. That's dependent on who we decide that we are going to bring in before the window closes. Obviously, we've got the Super Cup final coming up, and obviously we'll get into the season, and then we've got the January window. But in my eyes, I do not want to be waiting until the January window to be signing a 10. That's way too late, and where's the creativity going to come from? So for us at the moment, I've gone 7th, would be higher if Madders wasn't injured, and if we had bought a 10 and we'd got a winger, either one, a 10 or a winger in. 8th, I've gone Brighton. Again, bit of an outlier, but I think they have done business, but they're that team that will scout. They have that mad scouting ability where they can just go out, find whoever it may be, and they light the league on fire. Like, they did it with Matoma, they did it with Caicedo, they did it with Basuma. I know that he's at Spurs, but a lot of teams were interested in him. I remember around that time that Liverpool were interested in him. So they do have that brilliant scouting ability. Even that Baleba, Adingra as well, who we'll get onto a bit later. But I think Brighton 8th, good team, kind of up and down in form depending on the week. One week they can be brilliant, next absolutely terrible, as we've seen over the past season. So Brighton 8th for me, bit of an outlier in that one, but good team overall. 9th, I've gone Bournemouth. Only signing that I can realistically name is Petrovic from Chelsea, I believe. Again, they've signed down Semenyo to another contract because earlier in the window, I believe a few teams were looking at him. So they've signed him down. They've already got a decent squad on their hands. Iriola is doing a very good job at Bournemouth. They've obviously sold Dean Howson now to Madrid. Big opportunity for him, but it's a case of who do they bring in. They may have already brought someone in. I'm not entirely sure. If anyone does know, please feel free to drop it down in the comments. I've got Bournemouth 9th purely because of the way that their season went last season. Good team, but there's inconsistencies within the team, whether that be injuries, whether that just be the way that they play week in, week out. It's a bit like Brighton. One week they're brilliant and the next they can have a slip up and be terrible. But I guess that's with every team. But at least it's less inconsistent, if you know what I mean. So Bournemouth 9th, and to finish off the top 10, I've gone with Forest. Now, I know that a lot of teams and a lot of fans hate Forest at the moment. I am a Forest hater. I mean, their owner, I'm not going to say those words on Harry's channel, but if people got to know me, I think they'd know what words would come out of my mouth. But keeping hold of Gibbs White is good for them. Didn't really feel like he wanted to stay. I think if any of you watched the announcement video for his contract renewal, it was like he was being held at gunpoint, which is kind of mad. So Forest at 10. I'm not entirely sure if they brought anyone in. I know that Elanga has departed, and I know that they were interested in, forgotten his name now, he's gone over the top of my head, Villa player. I know that people will slate me for this, but they do have interest in players. I think there was a while, maybe for a few days, where they were lining up a few targets because they thought the departure of Gibbs White was imminent, but apparently not. So those targets may not have to come in now. So to round off that top 10, just put Forest in 10th. Didn't really want to put them there, but If they'd lost Gibbs White, I think they'd have been a bit lower. 11th, getting on to what I mentioned earlier, I've gone with Newcastle. Pre-season hasn't been the greatest for them, and I think the losses that they've had have kind of proved to other teams and fans that they are not saying not as good, but there are gaps within that team and they're not filling them really. Obviously they've still got absolutely brilliant players in Guimaraes, who else? Joe Linton, pretty decent player. Tonali as well. Obviously Elanga's gone there. They may keep Isak depending, I don't know. Anthony Gordon as well, Harvey Barnes. And now Ramsdale's gone there, which I don't know if that curse will catch up. Newcastle for relegation, who knows? But I just don't see them doing that well this coming season. I think the way in which, I mean, I haven't watched a lot of their games throughout pre-season. The only one that I did watch was the Spurs game the other day, which was sadly Sonny's last game, but I believe that there's a video that Harry's already done on that. Maybe wrong in saying, but I just don't think Newcastle will have that oomph. They're not attracting players. They're not like saying, let's have you here, we want you. It's players look at them and then think, I'd rather somewhere else. I don't know if it is something about being up north. I mean, I don't know. But I've got Newcastle in 11th. Sorry, Newcastle fans, but that's the way I see it. 12th, Palace, mid-table, literally every single season. I think any football fan could nail on Palace finishing around 11th to 14th every single season. I may be proved wrong, but Palace in 12th, it just seems such a Palace thing to have, you know, like Palace finishing in 12th is just Palace, that's Palace written over. FA Cup champions, albeit, but I can't remember the last time. Maybe they did last season, maybe I'm just being a bit thick here. Brilliant team, not taking anything away from them, but there's just a thing with Palace that they always finish in that 12th to like 14th region, and that's the way that it's been for a few years, unless last season they finished a bit high. If so, I will hold my hands up and say that I'm wrong about that. 13th, Fulham. Again, not done massive amounts of business this summer, not that I can name anyway. Again, 13th just seems suitable. I mean, they're a good team. I think every team in the Prem is a good team because it's the Premier League. You've got to be decent enough to play in it and good enough to stay in it. So Fulham 13th, nothing too spectacular, just another Fulham season really. So they're there. I don't really know what else I can say about them. Everton 14th. Only major signing that I can really name is Dewsbury Hall. Now I'm not entirely sure if that's actually happened or if that was just a here we go, but I know that I've seen I think it is a here we go. Good signing, good squad player. Didn't really do well at Chelsea. I think he was just not do well, but didn't get that much game time in that sense. Good squad player, did a bits in the Conference League, but just didn't really get that time at Chelsea. I mean, I think it's going to be hard to overtake Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo and Lavia. So I think for him to be going to Everton, good career move. Obviously they'll be playing in their new stadium now, so yeah, good move for him. And I think Everton 14th is reasonable. 15th, Brentford, maybe lower at this point of recording. Vissa is still at Brentford, but by the looks of it, doesn't want to be there. After Mbuemo's left and Thomas Frank is now at Spurs, doesn't really look like they're going to do much. I mean, they brought in Kelleher from Liverpool, good signing, very good keeper. I do rate Kelleher, and Jordan Henderson, who is a has-been. I think we can all agree. Bit of a random signing, that one. He's been bounced about by clubs in the past few years. So Brentford 15th could have been lower, but that's dependent on if Johan Wissa goes this summer. Not entirely sure where he's going to go and when, considering that we only have, I think it's below 30 days left of the window now. We're not far away from the start of the season, thankfully. So Brentford 15th. 16th, I've gone West Ham. I don't really know what I can say that is good about West Ham. Bowen is obviously still there, but I think he is the only shining light in what is a very, very poor team that they have right now. Obviously, they've gone and signed Kyle Walker-Peters. Not entirely sure if they've signed Callum Wilson. I heard things about it floating around, and I've also heard that they're linked to Raheem Sterling, which that's pretty poor, I'm not gonna lie. And that's the exact reason as to why I've got West Ham 16th. If you're doing business in 2025 and going after Callum Wilson and Raheem Sterling, I think you deserve to be in 16th. No matter how you play, you deserve to be in 16th. Yeah, West Ham 16th. Didn't do that well last season. I don't think they're going to do that well this season, this coming season. Justifies why they're 16th. 17th, Wolves. Not much business that I know of. They're just Wolves. They had a pretty good back end of the season, last season, after their new coach took over. But I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do this season. This coming season anyway. It's always difficult with Wolves because they start off really poorly and then they'll turn well at the end, or it could be the other way around. They start off really well and then just go bad at the end. So you never know what you're going to get. But I think Wolves 17th, I would want to put them higher, but I think ever since that fall off after Nuno left, I just don't see them finishing any higher. I think them getting maybe 14th to 13th this season would be an achievement in itself. I know that sounds really harsh and it's probably quite ironic coming from a Spurs fan, but I don't really know what I can say. 18th, I've gone Sunderland. Didn't want to put them there, but due to the Championship the Premier League not favouring Championship teams when they come up, I think you can all guess who I've got in that bottom three. Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley. It's sad as well because I do want Sunderland to stay up. I think it'd be nice to see a different mix of teams next season. So we have maybe a Leeds and a Sunderland, or a Burnley and a Leeds, or a Burnley and a Sunderland that will stay up, and then obviously we have newly promoted teams next season. So it'd be nice to see a different mix, although they're doing the business that's necessary in getting Adingra from Brighton and Xhaka now from Leverkusen as well. Good business, and they're doing bits in the window, to be fair. They've signed a lot of players. I just think with the way that the Prem has worked over the last few years, any teams that come up always go back down, and it's sad because I want more Championship teams to stay in the Prem. I feel like they deserve it, and they just become yo-yo teams at that point. I feel like that's what Burnley have become, really. They're a yo-yo team. But seeing Leeds up, great and all. Don't really like them though. That's just my opinion. Sunderland 18th, Leeds 19th, and Burnley 20th. I mean, the signings that Burnley have made, Kyle Walker, he's so past it now, so I don't really know what to expect from him. Marcus Edwards, obviously former Spurs academy graduate, went off to Sporting Lisbon, and then I believe he came back to Burnley and then signed him on a permanent. And then Axel Tuanzebe, who I believe was at Villa for a while after departing from United, and now has ended up at Burnley. And then obviously Burnley losing James Trafford as well, so not entirely sure where they're going to go. Scott Parker's at the helm. I feel like I've just completely missed Leeds, but I don't really know what to say about them. Obviously they came up last season, or did bits in the Championship, but it's whether they can put that form into the Premier League, which they haven't really seemed to do when they've come up, done really well in the Championship, and then they can't replicate that form into the Prem. So I'll reiterate, the bottom three: Sunderland 18th, Leeds 19th, Burnley 20th, and to re-go over the league: Liverpool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Villa, United, Spurs, Brighton, Bournemouth, Forest, Newcastle, Palace, Fulham, Everton, Brentford, West Ham, Wolves. Then the bottom three. I'm very curious to see what everyone else thinks and what their opinions are, whether that be teams are in different positions, how well you think teams have done in the transfer window, who teams need in order to bump their position in that league for next season, and why you think a player is necessary to a team in order to improve that team as well. Just very interested. I think we've got a very, very big season of football coming up, and it's one that I think we're all looking forward to. It feels good. It'll be nice to be back. Can't wait for it, especially after last season. Europa League glory. Obviously we don't talk about that 17th place. That's not something we talk about now. So yeah, I'm just really interested to see what everyone else thinks. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure Harry will put the socials on the screen. I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe to Harry, of course. Absolutely wonderful bloke for letting me do this. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you all next season. Have a wonderful day. Come on, you Spurs.